Selma Turtle, Nick the Greek, Damn Howard, Virgil's Mad Ho. Now that's a title. Joanne Artica, Keyed Robot, Soul Navigation. I love that. Thank you for the likes, guys. Привет, как дела? Welcome, everybody. Simulation Talk 124, and today is Thanksgiving. There's a lot to be grateful for. I'm very grateful about everything that's happening in the world. Did you eat too much? Stranger 9, I haven't seen you in a while. Welcome, everybody on YouTube. Sam and JB, welcome, everybody. Hello from Australia. Okay, what's going on? Let's see what's going on today with the chat. All right. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you, Borsche. I appreciate you. Yeah, about to hit all my responses on emails, probably on Sunday. There's so much, but hopefully I'll just sit down for like 3-4 hours. What's up, Patrick from Sweden? Good to see you. And we have South Sweden as well. Patrick, are you also from South Sweden or North Sweden? Where is it? I think it's North Sweden where they say for yes, right? Instead of y'all. Is that correct? That's North Sweden. It's always funny to me because I always think how they do like an intonation. What if you say yes, like with a question mark? So I always think, do they have to like tilt their heads like a dog? Like, what do I think about loops? Sorry, I don't know what that is. If you can tell me what it is. Matthew in the house. South Sweden is laughing at North Sweden. It's always funny how inside of a culture there's like all these little idiosyncratic things, and there's like humor involved. It's always amazing to me. Wait, what does it say? Hit an all-time high in 30 days. Okay. Welcome, everybody, to Simulation Talk 124. If you're on TikTok, you can also check out my longer format videos on YouTube, which is Dango Thoughts, D-A-N-G-O Thoughts. And if you're interested in all the little details about the project, it's codeofreality.com. Once again, it's codeofreality.com. Welcome to Simulation Talk 124. This channel usually revolves around simulation hypothesis. My name is Danny, and I'm claiming to have found actual proof that we live in a simulation. Not philosophical, but actual. It's something tangible that anybody can experiment with. A few years ago, I discovered that if you project a diffracted laser on a surface and ingest a particular molecule that I can't really name here, you will see code running in surfaces. And this has now been substantiated over 1,000 times worldwide and connected me with some very interesting people, including some of the leading researchers in the field. I always mention, and it is important to mention, that not all the experts agree with my conclusions. However, it's an ongoing conversation and it's an important one. And we meet here every single day to discuss this experiment, the implications, as well as science in general, religion, spirituality, philosophy, God. We break down whatever. Whatever comes, awakening, we talk about it. What do I think about the new era that we are creating? I'm very positive about the future. Something makes me very excited about the potential of what we can do. I don't see any value in worrying about it because worrying about it is not going to change anything. So if something, is supposed to go sideways, it's what's gonna happen, and I can't do anything about it. So I prefer to live my life in a way that is aiming towards the best future possible, and I'm doing everything I can in my personal life to line up with that, and then try and set some example of how to be in relationship to that. Does not mean that I always succeed, but it makes me feel better inside, and I also think that's the potential for humanity to actually do something better, and I think we should all align with that. There's so many great opportunities now in this world to live the best life possible. I think relinquishing fear and negativity is one of the greatest tools that we can possibly hone to move into a better future, because in the end of the day, we are creating it. That's what I think. Does a chemical start with a D? Yes, it does. Good guess. And mushrooms would work as well, but we're talking about the spirit molecule at the moment. On YouTube, Patrick is middle of Sweden. Lagom. Is that, where's Uppsala in relationship to that? Uppsala, I don't know how to pronounce it, sorry. Is it Uppsala or Uppsala? Uppsala. Is that how you say it? Uppsala? And that's where? That's more south? That's more middle? Where's that? Privet from Edward. HCW, good morgen. Careless Whisker. That's amazing. Is that German? Hejpadig Andrar Hurmanga Sventkar. So no, that's Sweden, right? Oh yeah, it's the same. Harhum I have no idea what I read, and probably read all of it wrong. So something about Danny Jones podcast. So I'm assuming you watched that and came here. So welcome. Thank you, Danny, for the exposure. Privet. Can you see the code from the console, or otherwise see the code without the laser? I'm not sure what you mean by from the console. The console is kind of like hovering in the air. It's more like in the room. So I'm not sure what you mean by seeing the code. There is some code running in the console, but I'm not sure what you're asking here. Are you asking, can I see the code through the console somehow differently in the wall? No, it's the same code in the laser. It's clear to me, and it was even expressed to me that there's some kind of a puzzle there where there's some connection between what the console is doing, what the code is doing, but I'm not sure what they are yet, so. SGT Dubsy saying, I've seen what you're talking about. Amazing. Tell us about it. You mean outside of what I'm saying, or after you saw me talk about it and then you try to replicate? That you got it, Ethan. That's essential. Yeah, the console is like a very weird. Yeah, I'm like I said, I'm working on a video. One of the things that takes the longest is also to work on the graphics, because I want the graphics to be perfect, and that takes some time. But eventually it will deliver the point home. So I'm happy that we're waiting a little bit. So it's, it's the best version of whatever we can make. Also, I can't figure out what's going on with the rankings on TikTok. It used to be that I used to jump rankings, and I don't care that much. I'm just my spectrum wants to understand how things work, and for the life of me, I can't understand how it works. So like, it used to be that the leagues, these for the lives, they have like rankings, and then it went already to C3 or something, and then I didn't show up for like 4 days or 5 days because I was traveling, and then it jumped back to D, and now it went back to D2. I actually don't really care. I just want to understand what is the thing there, like what is actually operating it. I have no idea. It's so weird. If somebody knows, please tell me. No, years ago during an experience, my mind arrived in what looked like some kind of a digital city. Towers of light everywhere. Amazing. Well, it sounds like the city of now or something along those lines. And I think what you see in the laser is something very similar. You also see kind of like a really futuristic city. I'm not sure if it's the same city, but when I returned, I saw letters and shapes scrolling across down the wall. Yep, sounds about right. That's incredible. The city of now. That's what I call it. I don't know if that's what it's called, but it's basically you can only enter the city from the now. Like, you have to truly be in the now, and that's the gate. Basically, you relinquish mind completely. Have you been able to do anything interesting with the console? Yeah, I managed to make the VR glasses carousel work, and that's a personality changer. It changed my personalities to different people. And it was like straight up different people, and I could feel the central me was still the same, but I was completely different people. It was wild. How does consciousness, and it was like this: you're someone else, you're someone else, you're someone else. It was amazing. How does consciousness change after the experiment? Are there any new sensations or qualities? So far, I can't point to any. Some people do point to, and this goes to the question, Ethan's question from before. Some people do claim that they can see the code clearly without the molecule with the laser after they see it for the first time. I sometimes kind of see it when I'm really tired without the molecule, but it's vague enough to say that I don't know if my brain maybe is projecting it there at that point because it knows it's there. It doesn't appear as concrete for me, but some people claim that it does. So I can't say because I never had the experience, but some people claim that it does make it super, super concrete. But other than that, I don't know of any conscious changes aside from the fact that now you know something that you didn't know before. And it's a big thing to know, but it's more of a cognitive change than consciousness, like experiential in general. Happy Thanksgiving is the console and actual interface that you could modify the simulation code of you know how. Is that what's used for other beings? I'm not sure what it's for. My best guess, it's that it's there to it's designed to train some attention facets that I'm not aware that I have. It's the interface that tells me if I manage to activate something through like very particular moves of attention. That's what I think it's doing. But some people insist that it's much more than that, and they're probably right. I just don't know what these things are at the moment. So somebody's saying 369 is the key. I mean, that's vague enough to sound very mysterious. There's definitely something there. I don't disagree with that at all. If computers never existed, then the theory wouldn't exist. But we do live inside the mind, so doesn't that suggest simulation in the biological sense? And doesn't that strengthen the simulation? I'm not sure what you mean by this strengthen the simulation. I think there's a few underpinning assumptions here that are just you just used in the sentence, and I'm trying to guess what they are. First of all, are you assuming that the simulation is some kind of a, like we're trapped inside or something like this? When you're saying strengthen the simulation, do you mean like you look at the simulation as almost like prison, like in a movie? Because that's not what the proposition. That's not what it is. The simulation in the proposition is that the whole world is computational, and when I mean the whole world, I mean everything that exists, even outside the universe, all the other universes, all the other worlds, everything that exists anywhere, it's all computational. So there is no getting out of it. In that context, simulation just means a slice of reality. It's one part of this larger space. So there is no base reality to get out of, just to be clear. There's no breaking out of it or getting to some kind of a base reality. That's not the proposition. So if that was the assumption, that's the first strengthen the simulation theory. Okay, right. So in that case, so first of all, to be clear, I'm not proposing the simulation theory. I'm proposing an experiment to show that that is in fact the case, or to start a conversation about the fact that that is in fact the case. Obviously, there's going to be a lot more that will need to go into the larger conversation to fully substantiate this with science and all of that. But this is an entry point. So I'm not talking about a simulation. I was never interested in simulation theory. It was never attractive to me. I never thought about it as interesting. I always thought it was messy and actually kind of boring, to be honest. Because to my mind, I thought we will never know anything about it, right? And if it is simulated, then you'll be completely indistinguishable from just a regular physical world that's somehow behind everything, some computational rules functioning behind the scenes, but we will never know about that rendering directly, right? Because of that, I was like, so who cares? Like, yeah, but who cares? Like, we will never be able to do anything with it, right? So why is this even interest to anyone? That I couldn't understand this. And also it makes things super arbitrary in terms of finding knowledge, because from the point of view of somebody who's living in a particular set, in an environment with a particular set of rules, like the laws of physics, whatever are the laws of physics for the external environment in which our world is rendered, there's infinite possibilities of what it can be. It's completely arbitrary, because who knows how they created these rules. It can be completely arbitrary. It can be just on a whim. It's just like, I don't know, we make it purple. Like, who knows, right? So at that point, kind of all of knowledge becomes useless. So all you can know is whatever is inside your world and never what's outside of that world. And because of this separation, I never found it interesting. This is also why it's sometimes funny to me when people think that like I really loved it, and I was like, well, that's the thing that makes sense to you, as in they're telling me. But no, it's actually never made sense to me. Like I never cared about it at all. if I wanted to stay loyal to what I saw, I had to reframe. It was very uncomfortable for me. I had to accept the fact that this is the most logical explanation according to what I'm seeing, not just the code, but everything else that is being told to me and shown to me. So the simulation theory is an idea, but I'm not proposing the idea. I'm saying, look, I think I found a way to truly probe this, and that's what I'm proposing. And so if I read the first part of your question, if computers never existed, then the theory wouldn't exist. I don't think that this idea that we have that the world is computational is based on the fact that the most advanced thing we have at the moment in terms of technology is computers. Kind of like how it was during the Industrial Revolution, where we started using a lot of engines and mechanical things. So we started thinking of the world in terms of mechanics. But I think that in the case of computation, it's different, because the world actually is computational, whatever it is, the qualities that computers have, right? And what computers are, they are the physical instantiations of the abstraction of computation. So it's not quite the same, because the world in fact is that. It's not a metaphor. It's not like an simile, or like it's kind of like this. No, it is that. And this is why it's a little different. So we would either way come up with the theory that tells us that computation is possible if we would keep following the thread, even without creating computers ever, which, by the way, was the case for a while. Yeah, okay. Aloha from Hawaii. Where in Hawaii, by the way? Do taking jabs affect this ability to perceive the point beyond material? I don't know what jabs are in this context. I know jabs from boxing, but I am reading both chats, Gibbons. I'm on TikTok and X and YouTube and Twitch. So I'm reading from a few chats, yes. I see that Negentropy is repeating the same question. I don't know what jabs are. If we didn't live in a digital age, do you think you would still see code? Yeah, so I guess I answered what you were asking, Ethan. Uh, these are universal concepts. They're not based on what area you exist in. When a civilization reaches a certain stage of development, the claim is, it is no longer, there's a big difference between being before that, moving to this universal way of seeing things, and before. Before, when things are very parochial, you can't really translate them to universal concepts. When you move over a certain line of understanding of knowledge, your mind is now capable of entertaining things that are infinite. Like truly, truly, truly. I always recommend the book The Beginning of Infinity by David Deutsch. It's incredible. It talks about exactly that, where it proposes that we are now crossing this line. So we start interacting with concepts like language, like codes that are universal. So even a civilization that will be 3 million years more advanced than us, it would have versions of these things, but they would be functioning on the same set of rules like ours, to infinity, basically. There will be more advanced versions of that and new kinds of interactions with it, but they will not be different in essence. And until the point that you reach that stage, things are different in essence. There's a big difference between the way you process information as a human and the way you process information even as one of the primates, so like, and even the close relatives, right? So monkeys, and there's a different kind of level of interaction with the abstraction that is touching the infinite. And it's a very deep idea. I highly recommend the book, but that's the claim. So yeah, you would definitely still see code, because linguistics and what code is, which is a symbolic representation of a function, is a universal concept. So it might have taken a different shape, but it would nevertheless be the thing that it is. I hope this answers your question. Aaron is saying, if I can sum up what I'm talking about, in general, I'm claiming that I found proof that we live in a simulation, and this channel at this point is mostly revolving around this subject. That would be a summation of it. Do I still talk to Frog Dude? Everybody loves the Frog Dude. I didn't realize, again, I said this the other day, I didn't understand how the Frog Dude will become such a cultural icon. But, I mean, no. I saw somebody on our Discord group Shared. Oh my God. Okay. I promised to put the Discord on YouTube, and I still haven't. I think I have to do it now, or people will kill me. Okay, I'm just gonna do it right now in real time. Sorry. Um, why am I so bad at this? I need a personal assistant. Okay, dashboard or my channel, and then let's see if I can add it here. Manage videos, customize channel, and I'm gonna add the Discord group here so everybody can just automatically see it. Handle. Add the pronouns. Jesus. Okay. Video watermarks. Oh, we can put watermarks in general. Okay. So where do I add that? See, this is why I don't do this, because I'm like so terrible at the dashboard. Maybe it's in dashboard. Okay, I will have to do it later because I don't want to waste time on this. But now it's open, and I will do this right. I'm so bad. I've been saying this for like a month and a half. I'm terrible, I know. Okay. Anyways, somebody in the Discord group shared a video with me with this lady talking about. And by the way, she said that they don't like to be called frog people. They are called. Let me see. They are called. They are called. What are they called? Oh, here it is. Uncons. There's some kind of a being that comes from like a very high dimensional realm, working with source energy or something like this. I know nothing about this, and this lady was going talking about it in such concrete terms. I was very confused by this because I know nothing about it. But yeah, it was kind of like what she was describing. So I don't talk to him still. I think he appeared for me a few times, but he definitely started this journey for me. So that was interesting to observe. Kingsman, you were talking about like summed up. Oh, yeah, we answered that. And if you want to know the specifics of what I'm proposing, Aaron, you can just watch my you can watch the trailer for the documentary we're working on, either here on TikTok, or you can just go to YouTube to Dango Thoughts, DANGO Thoughts, and there you have the full trailer, horizontal, the way it's supposed to be seen, and you understand what we're actually talking about. It's a 4-minute trailer. It's well done. You're not going to be bored. What do you mean by... Oh, inflate within a framework. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Luke. Also, good to have you here, brother. I'll put my thoughts out there after the live. From X Challenge Reality, love the handle, says Dan, would a green laser that can be defocused work if it was positioned at an ideal angle adjacent to an empty wall? Green, yes. Blurred, no. So a laser pointer does not work, which is an interesting data point. Only diffracted laser works. You would have to diffract it. So diffusing it, or as you said, defocused, it's not going to work. So even if you make it super, super wide, if it's not diffracted, it's not going to work. The diffraction is what allows you to see it, which is an interesting data point from a technical standpoint. And green would work, blue would work, all frequencies would work. It's just that the red is the lowest frequency, so it's also easier to look at it over like for long periods of time. I would not recommend to use any other lasers than the ones that we recommend on the website. It's codeofreality.com. Codeofreality.com. To make it super clear, don't feel obligated to get anything through the website or to buy anything through the website. If you're trying to save money, you can always copy paste the specs of what we're listing and just get it source it from anywhere you'd like. It's just that we did a lot of work to do market research and find out exactly everything that needs to be there. If you want every reason, there's a lot of reasons. Never above 5 milliwatts, has to be diffracted. And also there's a particular part about the output and the way it lasts, that these are just the best lasers. They're also the cheapest. Like if you get ours, the ones we make, yes, it's not the cheapest because we make them and we put a lot of effort into making them cooler and cooler all the time. But if you just, again, try and save money, the list we have from Amazon, that those are the cheapest in relationship to also exactly what you need. Don't use just the laser you're laying in your house because you never know if it's above 5 milliwatts, and that can actually damage your cornea. It's not worth it. Considering the fact that the ones that you need are super cheap on Amazon and Alibaba, it's not just not worth it. And those come with the diffracted lens, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't need to put extra effort into things you don't really need to put extra effort into. It's super simple, super cheap. You can just get it. Don't just use a random laser. If for no other reason that you don't know what the output is, maybe if you use anything above 5 milliwatts, after about 5 or 10 minutes, you're going to start feeling a headache. You are literally doing damage to your cornea. So do not do that. And people sometimes still don't listen. I'm like, I don't know what else to do but to emphasize this. Please, never above 5 milliwatts. I can't say this enough times. Okay. Do you think by observing the laser beam under the influence of the molecule, you cause change of some sort or others, or on the other side? Not on the other side. I think what happens is that you get more computational steps of your brain per second. So you can see more frames per second of reality itself, so to speak, including shutter speed and other elements of registering more information per second across all channels. I think that's what's happening there. When you blast off on the molecule, does it look similar to the simulation you see in the light? Have you tried looking at the light while you're peeking on the molecule? I'm not sure how you would do that, because when you're peeking on the molecule, you're not aware of anything. If you're truly peeking, you're not aware of anything. You don't remember you're a human. You don't remember anything. You're just out there in hyperspace. There's no possibility of truly interacting with anything. If you can, you're not peeking. So, couple of questions regarding what you see with the laser, if you can answer any. Okay, what are the questions? Did the experience of mushrooms change for you after molecule use? It does. It's a common thing. After you use the molecule, a lot of other psychedelics change your perception. They change in their behavior. But the molecule in general actually changed for me. Did the experience of... Oh, right there. I'm trying to pull myself away from computer simulation and put myself on a different chapter. Okay. Are you trying to say that you're trying to be more part of what people call the awakening? So I don't think it's a different channel. I think that these are two different descriptions of the same thing. One of them adheres to a more holistic perception of what the experience of this would be ultimately, which is, the holy channel or the ascension and all of that stuff. But I think the way it works is what we call computation. So I'm not sure it's a different channel. If you're talking about the vibe of it, sure. I'm not sure what you want me to do with that information. I mean, good for you. If you looked at the code for a solid object, like a wooden block, okay, if you then cut it in half or took a chunk out, does the chunk of code come away as it was and leave the rest of the wooden block? The code is literally in space-time itself. I think what the material that we're projecting the laser on allow for is to bounce light back off that part of space-time so you can see it as for what it is. So I don't think that it's not like the code is moving in a way that's like, if you look really close, it's like making the object. The code seems to be making space-time itself. It's just that you need a flat surface to bounce light off to see it. It's also in the air. You just can't bounce laser off the air. So yes, the code is always there on your skin, on a chunk, on whatever it is, but it's not like the code is coding for the qualities of the objects. I think, Jesus, I think it's coding for the qualities of space-time itself, for the laws of physics, which then give rise to what the object is. So in that sense, you're not going to see what you're describing. You would see just the numbers kind of running what they're doing, because they're in space-time, which the object itself is in. Does that make sense? Or does it record the entire object? Okay, I think that answers your question. Second question that you asked is there any noticeable difference between code in complex objects, mobile phone versus wooden cube? No, code seems to be the same because of the same reason I just listed. But that's a great question. That's a good differentiating question. Jesse Michaels posted the question, how do we escape the simulation? You don't. There's nothing to escape. To which I, using your viewpoint, asked, how can we escape who we are? Exactly. Computational contributors. That's a great answer and a question, but I think it's more than that. You can't escape reality. The point is that the reality is computational. So there's no escaping anything. You're not in prison. You're not locked. I know people feel sometimes helpless in many ways, and I think that it's easier to believe that if you imagine that it's ultimately completely out of your control, then whatever it is that you're feeling anxiety about being locked in, which is usually just a life situation, which is very parochial, it's very local, but we project it to the universal. So if we believe that we're locked in universally, well, we don't have to try and do anything about what our local environment is doing, which is, of course, just a form of, I guess, enablism, where you just get stuck here. The truth is you can do a lot about how you feel in any particular moment, and it has to do with a choice. As the architect very articulately said in the end of the second matrix, the problem is choice. The reason that monks can be in complete bliss, no matter what the external conditions are, it's not a trick, and they're not playing a positive mantra in their heads in order to be in that state. They understand that the state of their consciousness, the state of how they interact with the moment of experience itself, and it is to simply be in true equanimity, which is like a completely balanced state. Some people say love. No, it's beyond love. It's beyond any conceptual framework. You're just in complete balance with everything that exists. So even if you put a monk that is really good at what he does, being a monk, I mean like meditative monk, not like and you put them in any condition, completely isolated, they're in complete bliss inside. And it comes from the fact that they understand that the external conditions are not really dictators of how you feel. No matter what the situation is right now, you can just be completely content. And that's a practice to get into this equilibrium. The point of this is, it doesn't matter how your conscious experience arises. It doesn't matter how many dimensions you made out of. Your state of being has to do with your choice, and nothing else is responsible for that. So you're never in prison, no matter what the situation is. And I think the movie The Matrix did a lot of work to plant this idea in our heads that the ultimate simulation is prison. Because without that, you wouldn't have a plot, you wouldn't have a movie, and the movie is great, and I'm happy that it is what it is. But I always say the philosophical proposition in the movie is just false. Like, it's just not. It doesn't make any sense. No matter if you live in a computer, your experience is still real. It makes no difference whatsoever. You're gonna get into some kind of an external world and eat this porridge that tastes like chicken, but nobody knows what chicken tastes like. How is this? Why is that more real? It has nothing to. That just doesn't track. It doesn't make any sense. It's whatever your experience is. That's what matters, and how it's appropriated moment to moment has everything, not a little bit, but everything to do with what you choose to feel right now, how you choose to relate to the world, to yourself, to everything else that is happening in your immediate environment. So that would be my answer. You're definitely not stuck. I love what you answered, which is how can we escape what we are, because it's true. But in this case, how can you escape reality, whatever it is? So, did the frog guy tell you anything useful, like how to grow a plant faster? No, nothing useful. As far as I know, they can't really give you information, which I know infuriates a lot of people, because a lot of people claim they did give them information. And I don't know, maybe they did, but from what I gather, all I do, I report honestly about what my impressions are and to what degree they're strong or weak and why. That's all I do. It's almost like, look at me like a reporter that is doing my absolute best to say the absolute truth about what I'm convinced of and why. That's it. So if I have to give you my true account of experiencing this space for thousands of times, over many, 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 many years, across many different molecules, as far as I understand, the rule is they're not allowed to give you any information. That's just not allowed. Or maybe not even possible, because maybe it's not applicable. Am I absolutely right about it? I don't know. Maybe yes for some people, maybe no for some. I don't know. From my experience, I saw that they're not allowed to do that. So whatever it is that you think you've been given, my impression is, whatever you think you've been given, if you think that, was not given to you. You came up with that, which is great, by the way. You should take the credit for it. But you came up with it through a process that was a co-creation with the right conditions that were brought about to help you figure it out. So yes, there is that. But the actual figuring out moment never came from somebody like, hey, try to look behind drawer number 3. That never happens and cannot happen, according to my impression. Because there's something about the creation of knowledge that is sacred, and it has to happen in an authentic way, as it comes about through the moment of experience of every being in existence, i.e., free will. Does synchronicity sync you to your highest timeline? For me, it brings me to a great appreciation for the universe configuration. All right. Hi Dan, how are you? Sorry could not join yesterday. Anyway, my question the other day was about time. And what is living outside of time? And if it's possible, then what will be that? What would it be like? I love the question because it goes really far. The quick answers I can give, as far as I understand, there is no time. There are computational steps. And so Stephen Wolfram's model will be the closest to kind of describe it in technical terms. It's a long conversation, so you can just look it up. Stephen Wolfram Physics Project. Stephen Wolfram Physics Project. By the way, I should probably put our website here as well. Code of Reality. Reality.com, so you can check it out. Up. And this is, there's so many comments. Okay, and then this, you can always visit this website for a lot of information about the experiments. I just forgot to put it up there. TikTok, you'll have to write it down, codeofreality.com. Let me go back to the question. Scroll down. Montana is saying, Crystal saying, how exactly is this proving we are in a simulation? I'm sorry, but I'm not sure what you're referring to because I was rambling for a long time and I don't know what you're referring to when you're saying how exactly is this? What is the this? Because I said a lot of things. If you want to repeat the question and tell me what this is. Does synchronicity sync? Oh, okay. We saw that. And so if it's possible to be outside of time, again, like I said, there's no time. And if you mean, is it possible to experience external reality as in in its totality? I personally don't think so. I don't think it's a coherent idea. I think the only reason that we have this feeling that we're a separate being is because we are inside the timelines. If you would experience all the timelines at once, you literally would be everything, which means that you would not be experiencing a self, but you would just be it, existence itself. You would not have a relationship to it. You would be it. Therefore, you would not have a self-perception. That's the thing that makes the most sense to me. In that sense, idealism, the idea that consciousness is the most fundamental thing, the observer makes the most sense to me. I'm surprised they care about being called frog people. Me too. I don't know anything about it. That's what the lady said. She looked like a very nice lady. I'm going to take her word for it. I'm sure someone already asked this before, but do you think that machine elves are real? Did you feel them? Yeah, they're absolutely real. And I see beings that I guess what you would call machine elves all the time. They're absolutely real. What is Discord new to platforms? Oh, yeah. I mean, Discord is basically kind of like a hybrid between Telegram, WhatsApp, and Facebook. So it allows you to do everything from channels to chats inside the channels. And so it's a chat, it's a community. And also you can post almost like on Facebook where you have big posts that you make. And so it's kind of like a hybrid between all of these things. Oh, by the way, because I keep forgetting to put it on my YouTube, and it's also, it is in my link tree on TikTok. So if you go to my TikTok, Danny Goller, it's in my link tree, I think. I think it is, yeah, in the profile. But I'll put it on YouTube as well. And if everything fails, just email me, lasersimulationx@gmail.com, lasersimulationx@gmail.com, and I will email you the link. So, wonder if he means have the angles at observation point at 369. Yeah, I'm not a big believer in all of these like random attachments to some constants in nature. It is true that 369 is very significant in many different ways. So is 1 over 137. There's a lot of different constants in nature that are very important, but it does not automatically mean that just because you know about them, that should be the answer to everything, right? You would have to answer specifically why. The scientific method never goes out the window. You still have to answer these questions. Why is it exactly that you think that that is? Even in my case, like I'm kind of came up with this idea that seems on the surface to be simple. It wasn't simple figuring it out because there was a lot of twists and turns and what it could be. And when you don't know, you don't know. It's not that simple. But in the end of the day, now that I figured out something that works, it's not enough. I still have to explain theoretically why I think all this is happening, which I haven't done yet. But we're never excused from trying to explain it, if we are in the business of trying to understand the world. In that sense, when people say, "Oh, it's the golden ratio," or "Oh, it's 1 over 137," the fine construct constant. Why? Why? Do you know why? Or just because you heard that term somewhere? Not you personally, but like in general, when people do that, right? It's like because you heard that term before and now you think everything is connected to it. That's an incoherent way of looking at things. So I'm trying to stay away from this kind of reasoning, non-reasoning. But at the same time, we have to trust our intuition to some degree. It obviously brought me to where we are now. So it's a constant dialogue between these two modalities, between the intuition to hard knowledge, and they constantly play. Have you written down the numbers in the simulation? Do they have? No, you cannot write them down. I spoke about this ad nauseum, so I'm not going to be repeating it. But generally, there's just too much information there. You cannot really grab it or think about it in ways that like you can. Nobody can memorize what's in there. It's impossible. You're gonna need something that can record directly from your cortex to be able to do that. Which channel is real? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Any channel of experience. I'm on 2 channels. What do you mean by that? I'm on 2 channels where? On TikTok? There's 2 different channels on TikTok? That's weird. What is a simulation? Simulation, that's a great question. Actually, that's a very relevant question. Simulation is a computationally rendered environment. That's it. It does not mean fake. We think of it in terms of fake because we simulate environments after real environments. So in physics, we simulate interaction of space-time according to what we believe about real space-time to be. So we think of it in real simulation. So we think of it as like the opposite of one another. But in ultimate terms, if the world is computational in general, that stops being the case. Then the simulation is just another layer. It's another rendering of the previous rendering, which probably also is a rendering of something else, and just so it goes. That's a great question. Simple and yet very important question. Thank you for that. How are you, Jose? Good to see you. Has any artist made a visual for us to see? Yes, it's in the trailer. In the trailer, there's a piece of paper with the codes on it. You'll see in the beginning. That's on YouTube. You can see it on YouTube. Thank you, Rick. I appreciate you being here after seeing it on Danny Jones. Can you see the codes while on other substances? Yes. Mushrooms and II know work for sure. Do you know about the project where they are mapping the... Yes, I'm aware of the project and they are aware of what I'm doing. Thank you for the question. Infinite is still limited by the framework. Not sure what you mean by that, but no, by definition, the infinite is infinite. So it's, if you mean by descriptive framework, yes, but it's not the infinity that is framed by it. It's your understanding of it. Infinity itself is not framed by, is not limited by the frame. It's your understanding of it that is. Okay. How are you, Eric? Good to see you. Oh, thank you for being a member. Did you try the gametricks.org? What is gametricks.org? Wasn't that... what is this? It just shows up as not a real website. So I'm not sure what that is. But you know, also you're a member, don't forget, so you get certain privileges, including by the way, I'm not sure, did you email me? Were you in our last members Zoom meeting? If no, please email me. I'll send you an invite. lasersimulationx@gmail.com. Oh yeah, it's a good opportunity to mention this. I did start a members program on YouTube, but all the people that join on TikTok as well. If you weren't in communication with me about it, please email me, and I will send you an invite. The members program does include private Zoom calls with me with all the members, as well as weekly lives outside of the daily lives that are private only for the members, as well as early access to all the content I'm going to be putting out, and some private things from my life that don't exist anywhere else on the platforms. And I'm working on more reasons to join the membership program, and it allows me to focus on the project more full time. I deeply appreciate all the people that already joined the members program. Thank you for that. I appreciate that you believe in the project, but everybody else, you should know that that exists, and you're more than welcome to join. I promise very soon I'm going to dial it in, and it's going to be worth every penny. So thank you for that. They chose someone very articulate and logical to represent. Oh, you're talking about me? Well, I appreciate the compliment. Is on multiple platforms? Yes, I am. Have you written down the numbers in the simulation? Any numbers pattern? Same answer. It's too much information to be able to register at the moment. Cass, the reason you don't see all the questions is because I'm also on YouTube. So I'm jumping between YouTube and TikTok and Twitch and X. The YouTube channel is Dango Thoughts. DANGO Thoughts. Have I tried higher powered lasers plus eye protection? What is the point of that? So you're balancing it out. So you're putting more power, and now you're removing how much of the photons arriving to your eyeballs. You end up in the same situation, so it's completely pointless. What does work, however, is that if you have a range, goggles that are protecting in a range, not exactly that frequency because it's just going to cancel it out, then you do see the code a little bit more coherently because it eliminates a lot of the shine. So if you have, let's say you're doing 650 nanometers and your goggles are protecting from, I don't know, 450 to 680, you will see the code a little bit more coherently. That is true. But I would not use a higher output laser. It's just not worth it. You spend too much time with it, it will damage your cornea. Not worth it. You can see it very clearly without doing any of that. So there's no need for that. Got to go. Thank you. The subject has opened my mind. You got it, JB. I'll leave my thoughts after the live stream. All the best, Red Pill Junkies. Red Pill Junkies is a great. I'm gonna write it down. And JB, if you're still here, if you can email me your name, because if I will probably, I love this Red Pill Junkies. I don't know if we will, but if we will make any designs with it and it helps the project in any way, I want to make sure that you get compensated. So let me write it down. Let me write it down here. There we go. Nice. Red Pill Junkies. Nice. I love this. If you guys have any suggestions, feel free to make them, and I will make sure that anybody who makes them gets the credit and compensated if there's anything that actually helps the project financially. I want to make sure that you get compensated. So that would open a few numerical rabbit holes. From my understanding, the influence of many components make a human experience. Adding the hyperreflective molecule into a being of light field of view is going to do some wild stuff, including the paragraph you just wrote. It's very wild. I mean, I love it, but it's a wild paragraph. Do you think the molecule experience deepens for yourself over time? I think it stabilizes over time, yes. Some scientists would tell you it does not. I think it does. I think it just depends how long and how much you're actually interacting with it. From X, try not to become an ideologue. Great handle. Good morning from Portugal. Good morning. Danny Go. Danny Go sounds better than Dan Go, right? I just love my name. My actual name is Danny, and I like Danny. Dan doesn't really resonate with me. It just kind of flows better with the Dan Go. But Danny Go is kind of cool. I like it. Cami Moore, Danny Go. In a podcast, you mentioned going into 5D. What do you mean by that? I don't remember mentioning that. So if you want to refresh my memory, I would love to. But I don't usually talk about going into specific number of dimensions. Cool. For some reason, I was always thinking about the code objectively. Interesting. Now you're yelling at me about the good morning from Portugal? Thank you, Gustavo. That's a whole different perception now. Do you think it's possible that ancient pagans Indians could have found an alternative solution to your laser molecule process? Maybe. Everything's possible. What's up, Dan? This is Pavel from Psychoactivo. Remind me what that is? If it were only possible to get their opinions on how to shed ego for better transmission. Ain't that the truth? Gustavo, why are you writing all in caps? If you send me an email and you didn't get a response yet, that's because I'm now getting an email every 30 seconds. I will answer most of them by Sunday. So if I was seeing it as though code would represent... So I would seeing it as though code would represent specific objects, but in a space-time definition, I guess it represents the state of now. However, I wonder what the position of the code in our world represents. For example, the code on the ceiling of this room versus the floor, would that not show some sort of objective link being different? No, because thank you so much for the gift question. My proposition is not that it's coding for the qualities that you see, but for the laws of physics themselves. So the code will look the same everywhere because the laws of physics are the same everywhere. Missed the question. What do you mean, Maverick Star? There's no specific question. We're just kind of talking. This channel was recommended to me by YouTube. Awesome. I'm glad to hear that the algorithm works to some degree. I appreciate you. Welcome here. In computer code, symbols compile eventually to bytecode and ultimately to ones and zeros and electrical impulses. Do you think the code you're seeing fully compiled, is it at a bytecode level? That's a great question. It's a deep question. Let me go over a couple more questions to see if we have like a faster reaction thing, and then I'll go into your question, Ethan. Thank you for that. We will learn to use our brains to a point where we will be able to bend reality at will, control the simulation, if you will. Greetings from Tijuana. I want to have you as a guest on my channel. All right, you can always email me. lasersimulationx@gmail.com. It seems odd, if it is the fabric of reality, that it would be higher order symbols. It would be. I will address this with your previous question. You got it, Sam. Thank you for the kind words. Gustavo with the caps. I sent you an email with this question, but my intuition is telling me that the reality code will be conquered through the expansion of the window laser area that will permit viewing more code. Sure, but I think that it will be one component, but definitely not the component. There's going to be something much more specific, I think. I'd like to think the code is quantum and not binary. Well, it's definitely not binary. There's a lot of things there happening. Also, the research will need philologists from around the world, because the other thing that will propel the research is knowing how to read the code, the sound frequent of the letters, symbols. Sure, I don't think they'll be able to do it because no human can possibly read all of that. There's like millions of symbols that are all moving all the time. I don't think any human alive can do that. You will need the computer to do that. You would need some kind of a way to record directly from the cortex. So I understand what you're saying, but definitely I think the philologists might be able to help with other tools, but they would not be able to sit there and like understand what's going on. What if it's a distraction to nullify our ability to create? I mean, you can say that about anything, right? If your theory is without falsification and it can basically be in infinite other states, then it's not a theory. It's just like a thought that doesn't mean anything. It's kind of like saying, you know, what if certain leaves are actual radio receivers from another dimension? If you don't have a way to check that, okay, what if they are? When the frogman showed up, tangible in reality, how did you react at first? Scared. I haven't done the molecule, and I get it's an experience you have to have, but that intrigues me. Yeah, it's a good question. No, I wasn't scared for some reason because I don't think there was a scaring or menacing vibe. It was a very friendly vibe. But I definitely was I was in shock. Like not in a scared shock, but just in shock. Just I couldn't believe it. Imagine a person that looks like an amphibian just appears in your room, like a real person. I mean that's a quite an experience. One of the most elementary and valuable statements in science is I do not know. I think a more valuable one is anything that disagrees with experiment is wrong. Because I do not know is just the beginning of a search, but eventually you do know, and admitting when you do know is also important. So I'm not sure it's the most important sentence. How exactly does seeing this code through the lasers proving we are living in a simulation? All by itself, it does not. How exactly it connects to everything else is what we're doing here every single day. So you can tune in on a daily and understand how I'm slowly connecting all of that. What are your thoughts on reincarnation? It's real. Almost sounds like conscious osmosis. What are your thoughts on reincarnation? Real. And I'm not forgetting you, Nathan. I just want to get through like the simple questions first. Rule them out is where we're going with that. Yes. Do you have any plans on modifying or tweaking the experiment? Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of things that this is just kind of like a baseline. Now we're going to be starting truly experimenting with it. Magnetic fields, different materials, doing different things to the cognitive state, sounds, vibrations. I need water. What else? Rotating magnetic fields, the holograms. Hold on, I'm gonna get some water because my voice is cracking. All right. Hello from Bosnia. Hello, Bosnia. So that's about the modifications of the experiment, and we're going to be documenting everything for the film. The simulated environment seems fixed, like the laws of physics, and we're the interactive side of the simulation. Yes, the only thing that's simulated is the environment, to be super clear. It is completely open-ended, so nothing changes in terms of what we can do or what we can evolve into. That is outside of the inspection of reality itself. There is no simulated outcome. So in that sense, we still live in the same world that we thought we were in terms of what we can do and what kind of freedom we have. Whatever happens is our own doing, to be clear. Hello from Bosnia. Hello, hello. Simulation like a video game? Kind of, only that there's conscious beings in the video game, so that changes it. Because the second you have consciousness, that's reality. It does not mean fake. That's a big difference. How often do I take the molecule? Not so much at the moment because I'm super busy with everything that's happening, but I've done it thousands of times, so I don't know. I've stopped counting at a certain point. Definitely, in the thousands. What other ideas do you have to try the laser? I mean, that's a very general question, Edwards. I'm not sure what to answer there unless you ask me something more specific. Apologies. The molecule would be a deal breaker for peer review. A way to observe it without the molecule would have utility. In the beginning, yes, but if science is going to be closing itself to different modalities of understanding the world, it is not real science. Science, the job of science is to evolve, and one of the evolutions is to understand that one modality of understanding the world is definitely not the way to go. You have to come at the world from all the possible modalities that can lead to progress. If at some point science will decide that that it wants to stay with one modality, we would have to combat that with better science. That's not science. Science has to be open to revise its ways of doing things if the data points there. By the way, I see that a few people are trying to just come on. If you're trying to come on and chat on TikTok, I usually allow people to do that, but then you have to put a comment in the thread telling me what you're going to be talking about. So first of all, I want to make sure that you're a real person who's paying attention to what's going on, but also I want to be prepared to talk about the specific thing that you want to be talking about. So. But see everything in a mirror image. Wait, Eric, I'm going to get to your question real quick. I also see many small galaxies if you're looking good in the space, such as a room with codes. Wait, the dock will be released in about 8 or 9 months, I think. There we go. I guess we need some moderators here. I have to block some people. Block. Beautiful. And what else? Awesome. Yeah, awesome. Okay, I think we should be good now. I did see a man-sized lizard, yes. Okay. Do I need any hands to help on set? Sometimes we do, yeah. You can email me about that. lasersimulationx@gmail.com. lasersimulationx@gmail.com. What other ideas do you have to try with the molecule? I think I listed them a moment ago. The molecule would be a deal breaker. Oh, okay. So that question. Did you record the tune the frogman reached? No, of course not. I mean, it was just all happening in real time, and I was completely blown away. What's the next step for me? I mean, that's a very general question, James. I appreciate it, but I don't know what to answer to that. Do you need any hands to help on set? We answered. What's the most profound insight you've gained from your experience with the molecule? I can't point to one. It's very deep life lessons over many, many years, so I can't really point to one. If I wanted to create a computer simulation, I would start at the quantum level and program the computer quantum mechanics and allow the computer to work out the many equations. Well, of course, at bottom, the world is quantum, so whatever bottom computation is, it has to be quantum computation. That's a given. That's absolutely correct. Pretty soon you're going to dial it in, so you're not filming. I am filming. Yeah, we're filming everything. When you have a table made from wood and you break it a piece, so this was asked already. Really piece the table, really piece of the wood. Wait, you break off a piece. Is that piece really a piece of a table or really a piece of wood? A table is just a name we give to an object that we're placing things on. I think that's self-explanatory, no? Is there a Discord and a Telegram group? There's a Discord. You can email me and I'll email you the Discord link. lasersimulationx@gmail.com. The difference between a table and a piece of wood is that we made up tables. Yes, there you go. Great Danny John's podcast. Thank you so much, Davo. Danny Go Dan. No, I like Danny Go. It's kind of cool. I like it. You could rebrand Deng the Thoughts Man. It's a mouthful, but thank you. My podcast, we've been talking on Instagram. Got it. Okay. Please forgive me, but there's literally hundreds of people reaching out. I can't know just by your handle or your name. There's so much going on. But from Instagram, I'm never going to book a podcast. Like, it's always going to have to be through email. So if you've never emailed me before, you have to do that. I told you about Dr. Jacobo Greenberg, work after you spoke to Clint. Got it. Still, you have to email me. lasersimulationx@gmail.com. Did you record the guitar riff the Frogman showed you? Answer that. It's not easy to get an important part in New Zealand. You're right. At the moment, it is a limitation. Does two persons looking at the same code see the same symbols? Yes. I think it had, Cami Moore is saying, I think it had to do with the Ascension. You mentioned 5D very briefly. I don't think I did. I did talk about Ascension, but I don't remember ever mentioning 5D. Maybe there was a misunderstanding. I still don't understand this Ascension stuff. Maybe you know about that. I've been visited by shadows, beings, so I'm curious. Well, it seems that there's an opening to this other realm, and we have the opportunity to align ourselves with higher forces. That's the general gist of what I see the awakening or the ascension being. I don't think 3D is going anywhere, even though some people would disagree. I think the door is opening so we can be informed more by the divine, so we can do greater things in 3D and instantiate them into the three-dimensional space, into larger space. It's almost before the next portion of the video game opens up into space-time, which is like, expanding into the galaxy and all of that. You need to go through some kind of an upgrade. Like there's a modification. There's like a whole new set of tools that comes on board before you do that, because of the distances, the level of planning that is required, the level of collaboration. You can't have a civilization that is constantly, pardon my French, stuck up its own ass with personal needs and nothing else, and what do we gain versus them. And you can't have these kind of attitudes in general if you are to make plans for 2,000 years. It's impossible. If you only thinking about yourself and your own nation and like thinking like this, you can never make a plan that will expand for 2,000, that would span over 2,000 years. You can't do that. You would not be able to build a Dyson sphere if all you think about is the next fiscal year. That's impossible. So there's certain attitudes that need to change, which require almost an intervention on the level of the hardware. So like there's going to be some modifications happening, and I'm claiming that these modifications are coming, and they are AI and AGI, which are so many people are afraid of, but they are that transformation. That is in fact what's happening. We're opening to what that is. And some people think, again, I spoke about this on the podcast, it's the don't venture outside the village. It's the fear of the unknown. It is the thing that kills the civilizations at the end, not the other way around. It's the fear that does that. We have to stop being afraid. So if the code represents laws of physics, do you see the same code repeating throughout everything? Yes. There's no noticeable difference between objects, materials, locations, etc. Interesting. Yes, that is exactly correct. You nailed it. What music comes closest to what the frog taught you genre-wise? I can't say. It was more like, it wasn't even a melody. It was just like chord, 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 chord. I was like, oh, that's like dun, 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 dun. Like it makes sense. It's kind of like that. So it was very, very slow. It wasn't like, the Gypsy Kings. That would be insane. I'm new to your channel. Can you help me understand your general worldview? Sure. This channel now pivoted. In the beginning, it was on YouTube, kind of like interviews and things like this. Now, because of the fact that I'm claiming to have found proof that we live in a simulation, most of my content is about that. That should summarize it. The rest you can watch my videos, or you can show up for the daily lives and watch the kinds of interactions I'm having with people, and that will give you a good idea. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Autistic savants are already able to read that code. Not sure that's the case. Recreation, deletion. Autistic savants are just people whose entire brain is now focused on one task. So it seems remarkable what they can do because their entire brain power is targeted towards one task. But they're very unfortunate people because they cannot do anything else. Most of them cannot tie their shoes. So it's not a fun condition. The only autistic savant that we know of so far, I think, that can also communicate normally and has a relatively normal life is Daniel Tammet. Look it up. Tammet. Daniel Tammet. He had a seizure when he was a kid, and since that he could make these like insane, not even calculations. He just feels math in a different way, and also he can learn any language in a week, to like a very like he can really speak the language. So, and he can speak normally like other people, but usually autistic savants, it's not a superpower; it's a disability. If you've had major trips from meditations, if you've had major trips for meditations and breathwork journeys, is that sufficient preparation pumping endogenous molecule to attempt laser viewing? Do you have to have chemical support to get there? Great question. So there's a lot folded into this question. I guess the simple answer is I'm not sure. I don't think so. I tried the breath work. It doesn't really work with it. It doesn't mean that it can't. I never managed to do it. Maybe somebody else can. But there's another thing that is folded into your question, and that is the claim about the molecule released during breath work. There's actually no data there, just so you know. I know a lot of people make that claim, including Wim Hof, which I love. I love the guy. But if you ask from a scientific standpoint, there is no evidence that actually happens. Your lungs make the molecule, that's true, but there's no, I don't think, as far as I know, it was never tested if your lungs make more of it if you do breath work. It might, but if it does, definitely not enough to induce the states that you need. That I can tell you from experience. But also, just so you know, in general, a lot of these claims that people make all the time, we don't really have evidence for that. We don't know that. We don't know that there's more molecule produced when you actually do breath work. Other things happen. There's definitely openings, but I'm not sure it's that one. Another claim is that the pineal gland makes the molecule. That seems to not be the case. Again, if you want to come on, you have to leave a message. Sorry, Mimi. So I'm just excited because of your findings. I'm just excited to witness it happen in real time. I think you're not alone, and I think it involves all of us, not just me. Would changing the color of the light alter the outcome? No. Each color moves at a different frequency wave in terms of light. Yes, but the code is always the same. The code is not in the light. It's in the matter. The light just bounces off of it. This is why the code always stays the same. Sorry for the frogman appeared when they went for the drink. That's amazing. Sorry for the caps. Just wanted to get my intuition across. No, it's all good. It was just funny. About the expansion of the laser's area surface is just another step. It's the difference between having a small or a big window. I agree, of course. Do you think VCI like Neuralink will be the key to being able to record the code? Yes. The frogman played us the celestial riff. I love that. Maybe this molecule has been blocked by something in evolution. I don't believe in these, you know? I think evolution moves in one direction. It moves in random directions, but in one direction. So like the tree evolves in one direction. Things never devolve. I don't believe in that. I don't think we had abilities that we lost. I don't believe in these. Can I be wrong? Yes. But I personally don't believe that's the case. I think that's an incoherent way of looking at evolution. But that's just me. It doesn't mean that I'm right. Water to ice is, I think we are the most advanced version of whatever this is in this corner of the universe. And I think that's actually the hardest thing for people to admit, because that means we have a certain responsibility. If we believe that others had certain wisdoms and ideas and knowledge that we don't, then we don't have to take the responsibility and work as hard at making progress. I think that's really the operative there. Again, can I be wrong? Yes, but something tells me strongly that that's the case. I think we are the best version of whatever it is that mind can do in this corner of the universe in 3D. That's us. And that puts us in the hot seat. Water to ice is changeable. The same goes for steam. Okay. Those kinds of elements are changeable in codes. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Eric. These are phase transitions. I'm not sure what you mean by codes in this context. But water becomes the same again. Wait, I think it's connecting to something else you said before. Let me see. I think your experiences are very insightful. Why not share them here too? What do you mean by that, Don? I am sharing the information, no? Is the simulation deterministic? No. According to what I'm saying, no. It's completely open-ended. Is the code visible on skin? Yes. I've seen the alien letter. The alien letters. Awesome. Simulation or vibration? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Vibration has to be of something. Is there a way to have AI monitor the code? Eventually we will have that, yeah. Let's take a few more of these questions. By the way, if you guys are enjoying this chat, if you would give the like a thumbs up and a like, it'll be very beneficial. The algorithms love that. It would help the chat, so I appreciate you. Across all platforms, TikTok and YouTube and X and Twitch. Appreciate you guys. What is the topic of this live? I am claiming that I found proof that we live in a simulation, and we're usually talking about that, but we also talk about other subjects like science and philosophy and religion, spirituality, and whatever comes to mind. That's the general gist of it. You can watch my videos about my claims. They're fun, entertaining, and relatively quick on TikTok, but if you want to watch more information, you can always visit my YouTube channel, which is Dango Thoughts. Thank you, Marie. DANGO Thoughts on YouTube to watch the longer versions of these videos. So that's the gist of what we're doing here. See where we stopped on YouTube. Something jumped. I'm changing self-view after growing up in a dysfunctional home. When you do that and study psychology, it becomes apparent the mind is machine-like, as is the ego based on past data like AI models. Yeah, I'm aligned with that. Is there a way to have AI monitor the code? We just answered that. Hi, maybe this was asked before. I just got here. But when will the full documentary for the discovery come out? Anywhere between 7 months to a year. About the philologists and or mathematicians. They broke various codes. The Enigma German machine. Yeah, but they've never seen anything like this. You literally have millions of codes appearing in real time. It's not something the human mind can do. Take my word for it. That's not possible. If it is possible, it's by some kind of a really, 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 really rare actual savant who can just truly have a photographic memory, but then they can just see it and recreate it maybe, but it's not going to help you break the code. Like, it's moving all the time. You're gonna need a machine if you want to do this reliably. Thank you for the likes, guys. I appreciate it. You're gonna need to do it with some kind of a recording from directly from the Cortex. That's the only viable way. What will be engaged in soon is to try and induce some change in the code to see if we can produce magnetic fields of some sort that will allow us to reproduce a change in the code in a way that we can all agree on. That, I think, in the immediate horizon, that's the way to go. Regarding the ultimate purpose of the simulation, it seems more logical to assume that the higher civilization has already found the answer to everything. No, it does not. It's actually exactly why the simulation is happening. It's because they cannot. If you think about it for 1 second, why would they? No matter how advanced you become, you are always a part of some kind of a container, some kind of a reality. You're within something, right? So that would be literally the last thing that is unsolved and seems to be unsolvable, which is why, how can everything come from nothing? How can it possibly be? And from what I'm seeing, that's exactly where the simulations are run. That's what they're trying to figure out. They cannot answer that question. So I'm saying this with a lot of confidence because literally I've been shown this directly, that the reason that all of this is happening is because the highest civilization in existence cannot figure out how can everything come from nothing. It's unanswerable, it seems. So they put all of the resources and all of the technological sophistication, which is on levels that we cannot comprehend, to try and answer that question. The ultimate last question. And that is why the grandiosity of the situation. So they're running this infinite array of simulations in all the kind of possible environments that are evolving according to the Mandelbrot set, so infinite complexity. And they want to see if there's any common denominator, anything that keeps coming up no matter how different the reality is. And if they can find something like this, there's a mainframe that registers all of it, that would hint that that has something to do with the ultimate nature of why everything exists. That is, so it's actually would not stand to reason that they found it, but stand to reason that they cannot find it, and that's exactly why everything is happening. But you kind of nailed it there. What do I see on the panel? You mean of the console? There's a lot of different things. I'm working on a new video about it. I feel like if you could film the code, that would be a real breakthrough. No idea how to make that work though. I think the breakthrough already happened. Now it's just a matter of convincing people to get on board and actually study this. Thank you for emailing me. If the code is so complex and dynamic, how can you be sure that everyone sees exactly the same code? Or do you mean that the general visual structure remains consistent? Exactly. The code is robust and specific enough for you to see it clearly, but because there's so much of it, your brain drowns in that information, so you cannot grab like any sequence or anything like this. And if you want to start deciphering it, it's not enough to see that there's individual letters that are looking a certain way. You need to find sequences. You need to find regularities in behavior and movement. That is impossible at the moment, I'm claiming. But yes, it's just so specific that you can see it clearly, but there's just so much of it that you can't possibly find any like regularity happening. It's impossible. Like, I want to say on the verge of impossible, but no, it is impossible. Like, with the mind that we have right now, it's impossible. I wonder if I can somehow use some sort of filter on a camera to see it on a video. Great question. I think that eventually we'll figure out along what continuum of consciousness we're looking, and then we'll be able to create cameras that can potentially see it even without the molecule, or one would hope. By the way, there was this genius coder recently that I met that looked at me very seriously. He's never seen it before, and he said, "If it's code, I will break it." I said, "Okay, let's see." Have you tried a wide fan type laser? Some code will float in mid-air. I'm not sure what you mean by that. In order to see something in the air, you're going to have to bounce enough photons, not one, but enough photons from every point that comes from the air. So like you can't do that. That's the problem with creating like actual, like, you know, like we see in Star Wars holograms. You got it, Cami. Have you written the code down? We answered that. Have you made any insights in trying to decode the Japanese? Same question. If you project the laser on 4 sides of a box and look into it from all sides. Okay, what about it? So you're going to be inside, you mean? So what you're going to need to do is to create a box of a semi-transparent material through which you're going to project from 4 directions different lasers, and you're going to be standing inside. But then you just see kind of the code. Yeah, like that's actually not a bad idea. It's kind of cool. But you're going to see the same thing. You're going to see just like what you would see on one surface, you're going to see on all 4, I would assume. But actually, that's not a bad idea. That's great. I like that. Again, whenever you give me an idea like this, email me also and tell me that you gave me that idea on the chat. Because if it ever pans out, I always want to make sure that I give the credit to the person who came up with the idea. You need to listen to the telepathy tapes so you can understand about autistic savants. I understand about autistic savants. It's recent. Sure. It's not what is behind it. It's the facts about how they operate. So you don't need to listen to anything else to know that in action, autistic savants have an incredible ability in one domain, because whatever it is that is happening in their brain allows them to do that. But they cannot do anything else. That is the definition of an autistic savant. Unless you're talking about something else. If you're talking about autism in general, it kind of gives you like certain abilities that are more pronounced. Savant, the definition of it is that you literally cannot do anything else but that. That is the definition of it. Kind of like Rain Man, right? You've seen your phone on the molecule. I've seen Code of Mushrooms on my phone. Yeah, all screens look super dope on psychedelics in general. That is true. Copper plate, looking into running electric current through it in pulses. That's a great idea too. Ben, again, email me. Remind me that you told me this idea with your full name, so I can give you the credit if something pans out. Do you think the molecule or other psychedelics allow people to see chakras and Earth's geomagnetic ley lines? And do you think ancient cultures had tapped into the ability to see these things? Can't know. It's possible. It's possible. I feel the molecule mechanically activates the pineal gland. So just so you know, Daniel, there seems to be no evidence that the pineal gland is ever involved with any of that stuff. It was based on a big confusion. It does not subtract from the importance of these things, but the pineal gland seems to not be involved. It's the temporal lobes that are involved. I've always thought that some disabilities and what society deems as crazy may just be a key to some answer of the human brain. Maybe crazy people aren't crazy, but onto something. So it's true to a degree. You might say that some forms of schizophrenia, they're basically some ability to see beyond the current map without the map. So, and then society tells you that you're crazy, so it makes you psychologically unwell. I agree with that. However, it is not true across the board. I don't know if you ever met people with serious disabilities, but if you would or have, you would know that no, it is not a key to something. They just got the short end of the straw. It's a very sad situation. Just sometimes some disabilities are just very, very difficult to handle, and they're not lucky people. So, and I think we should not minimize the level of suffering there, because if we can do something to remedy it, we should. I also think that cats have some crazy place in hallucinations as they gatekeep type role to other realms. Just a thought. I agree. I think cats see beyond the realms. I agree with that. Thank you so much, Ben, for the contribution. I appreciate you. Do you believe ancient civilization knew of the molecule, or what are your general thoughts on how advanced they were compared to us now? Yeah, I definitely land on the idea that there was never anything as advanced as us now. And it has nothing to do with hubris. It has to do with just the logical course of things for me. And it has to do with actually taking responsibility. Because of, that's how I see it. Is it possible there was something kind of like as Atlantis that was like super advanced? Maybe, but not advanced in the way that we are. Not in the same way. They never went to space. And people say, yeah, but that actually, if you think that that matters less as a form of being advanced, yeah, I would just disagree with that. That's okay. Like, it's fine to disagree. I just disagree with that. I think that if you figure something out about the world that allows you to do things that are very advanced, that is the definition of that. Is it possible that they maybe knew something about the way that mind operates from a functional level that we don't know because they had a different evolutionary tree in terms of thought? Yes, and maybe that's we're gonna rediscover that through neuroscience and other modalities, like kind of like what we do with psychedelics, and they will combine the externally technical with the internally technical, and we will become the ultimate civilization. But no, I don't think there's any evidence that there was anything as advanced as us now, in terms of understanding the world, in terms of knowledge. I know it's not a popular idea at the moment. People are really into this whole, what I call fake humility, kind of like trying to frame us as like the bad players or the disease. Or I think they're just the wrong way of looking at things. We are part of the natural tapestry of things. We're not a disease. We're a beautiful thing that is capable of a lot of power. That, unfortunately, when you aim it towards the wrong goals, yeah, it can cause some damage to the environment and other structures. But we're also the only thing that can understand that and remedy that at the same time. People have this weird idea about anything outside of humans as like this wholesome, beautiful thing that is always. Dude, nature is brutal. Brutal. Lionesses eat their own cubs sometimes. It's brutal. It's a complete delusion to imagine that we're the evil ones. If you're defining evil as just doing whatever feels right to you in the moment, nature is evil. We're the only thing, and if that's the definition, we're the only thing that is capable of good. We also can be as evil as nature, but we are the only thing that can do good. So the truth is that none of this is true, is that we are just part of the tapestry or whatever it's happening, but people have a lot of incoherent ideas that actually disagree with their own premise. It's just that it's easier to think of things in ways that make you appear as good, so you will perpetuate these ideas because they make you personal. It will elevate you personally. And I think that's actually the selfish thing to do. As Elon always says, there's a difference between the perception of good and the actual doing good. Now, a lot of people hate Elon Musk as well, which again is kind of like part of the same problem, if you ask me. Not in terms of what he is as an individual. I'm not talking about him as a person or how he treats people or any of that. It's just, in general, when we're doing something to contribute on a certain level, there's a tendency to run this weird mantra about how evil appears where we want to see it, versus understanding that everything has the potential to go in either direction. And our responsibility is to guide our own behavior towards the better direction. That's the only responsibility we not only have, but we can ever have real interaction with. You can't change what other people do, definitely not people in power. You can't change what governments do. You can change it over time, but you're going to change it through looking at yourself and how you behave, and you create a certain way of doing things culturally that just becomes the norm. It becomes the fashionable thing, the normal thing, and then if that thing that you made fashionable is aiming towards the good, that is what your society is going to look like. It might change in the moment through some kind of a revolution, but ultimately the seed of the violence that the revolution held will grow again. And this is why it's always cycles and cycles and cycles and cycles. What we want to do is we want to get out of that spiral and go up. We want to go up. You only go up by understanding that your responsibility is with yourself, not with anything else. How we got to the subject, I have no idea, but that's how it went. Yitzhak Bentov, yeah, that was. I agree. This was one of the important things. I think Yitzhak Bentov definitely was onto something. We have only deemed these ideas as disabilities. I don't think so. When you're talking about somebody who literally drools on themselves and cannot tie their own shoes and cannot shower, no, it's not something we deemed. That is a very unfortunate situation for the person. I agree with you that there are certain conditions that we shouldn't label as a disability because they're just misunderstood, but that's as the broad caricature statement of all disabilities are somehow gifts. That's just not true. Again, what I just described to you, somebody literally drooling on themselves all day, just stands there, can't shower, can't take care of themselves, can't do anything. No, no, that's not a gift. And pretending that it is actually not, it's not a positive thing. Did you already reach out to Elon Musk to set up an experiment with Neuralink recording the code, and to Keanu Reeves to do a podcast about the code? Keanu should smoke the molecule and see it. I mean, I'm all for it for both cases. No, I don't think there's a way to reach out to Elon. I think it's just a matter of him noticing it at some point and deciding that it's important enough to interact with. What do I think happens to us when we die? I think we incarnate. Okay, gonna have to fast forward here, guys, because it's getting pretty late and I want to get some sleep. Could you share more about the interactions you've had with the entities? That's gonna have to be tomorrow. You got it, Marksman. Mr. Zenman. Appreciate you. So fucking saying, you know those mirrors that ladies use to do makeup that magnify? How about trying to hit this or something similar to get a better view? Well, you can use a magnifying glass or a microscope, or even what are they called? I'm spacing on such a basic word. Binoculars. The mirror thing, you got to be very careful with mirrors because it will literally, the laser will bounce back into your eye. So yeah, people keep asking about mirrors in the sense of using mirrors for a hologram. Yes, but there's nothing that's going to happen with a mirror aside from the light being reflected back into your eye. That's it. You're not going to see any code. It's going to bounce back into your eye, and that's extra dangerous because you're in an altered state. Exactly, mirrors are dangerous. So-called normal people are actually the crazy ones who only have 3 to 6 brain capacity. I don't agree with that. First of all, this idea that we only use 5% of our brains was an idea that died in the 90s. It's still being repeated in the cultural milieu for some reason, because I guess it's there's something very mysterious about it. But we've known that that is not the case since the 90s. That's just not true. We're not using 5% of our brains, just so you know. Because there was a big portion of like a lot of gray matter, and also the same goes for the junk DNA. We definitely know what it does now. So none of these are real claims. Secondly, I don't think that demonizing regular people is getting you out of the problem. You're just perpetuating the same kind of. It's like you're returning the evil doing with evil doing. Like demonizing anyone is not a good idea. The way to move forward is to understand that we're all part of a collective and we're all working together. So I would not agree with that statement. No, it's true. You must deprogram yourself from all of them. It's very important. Got it. Okay. So you know the truth, but we don't because you say so. Gotcha. Space is not what you think it is. I bet it isn't. I like the gift, but it can also be very distracting, especially driving a car. It's exhaust you. Yeah, I know what you mean. My son, schizotypal, yet he knows it is not reality when it's happening. Yeah, and again, I know some people with that disability. Can't repeat it too many times on this channel, but yeah, it's a debilitating condition sometimes. AI and civilization comes to a pinnacle point around 2025, and men discovers matrix code. Yep, sounds about right. Have you also have information of Anunnaki? No. Sorry, Eric. That's something I definitely don't have information on. Saw code through reflection on the window and the sun. I saw code everywhere. Yep, you're right. It travels through light as well. Do you know the definition of a hologram? I mean, what do you mean the definition? A hologram is a thing you can do, right? It's a projection from a two-dimensional film that makes a three-dimensional object appear that is not actually there because the information was recorded on two-dimensional film. Rerun 2D simulation in a 3D world, so it's logical that there is something running 3D sims in 4D. Correct. That is exactly right. Can you offer any proof here live that you aren't just a hologram? You are a hologram. We're all a hologram. So, no proof there. Do I have any illustrations of the code? Yes, it's in the trailer. If you go to Dango Thoughts on YouTube, DANGO Thoughts, and watch the trailer, it's in the trailer in the beginning. Okay, so what time tomorrow? Don't know yet. I wish I would. But yeah, this would have to be the end for today. I appreciate you all, guys. If you want to follow me across platforms, it will be Danny Goller on TikTok and Instagram, Goller Danny on X, LaserX83 on Twitch, and Dango Thoughts on YouTube, DANGO Thoughts. I've also added a members program on YouTube, which will allow you to have Zoom calls with me, with the members, as well as weekly lives that are outside of the daily lives, just for members. Early access to different videos I'm going to be putting out, and personal information about my life doesn't exist anywhere else on any other platform but on YouTube's members program. And I'm working on other things to enter the program that will be worth people's while. I appreciate the members that already joined because it allows me to focus on this full time. Thank you so much. It really, really helps. And I hope more people will join. I appreciate you. We're here every day, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. So that being said, peace and love. Happy Thanksgiving. Be grateful. That's it. Peace and love. Ciao. See you, everybody. Have a good night.